Here at Axon Main Fort Memory in St. Elmo, Illinois, and what I'm working on is what I've been working on for the past several videos, I guess. And I have been taking file steel and rasp blades that are forged and heat treated, and I've been fitting those up to hot forged and hot fit guards. Most of my forging is done hot, except for some of the copper. So now it comes down to, how do I make this flow? And some of you guys may be asking, well, what do you mean by that? Well, when I take a rasp blade, you see how it's got the texture, and the reason I make those out of a rasp, there's a couple of reasons. One, it is good steel, and two, people recognize it's kind of nostalgic. So most cases I want to keep this texture on here. Now occasionally I'll be making a hunting knife out of a file, and I'll go ahead and I'll grind that completely down because it's a little easier to grind out than it is the rasp texture. That goes a little bit deeper. And so how do you clean it up to make it look good but still keep that texture? Well, there's a couple different techniques I've been using on this, and I'm going to go over that with you, and maybe it'll help you guys out if you're a knife maker or a hobbyist and you want to make a rasp knife or a file knife and leave that scale texture on it. Not forged scale, but like snake or fish scales. And how do you make it rustic but make it look good? So that's what we're going to be going over on this video. So first things first, clean everything down so you don't have a lot of hammer marks. Now you can see there's a little bit of a pit right there, and if I work on that I can get that out, but if I go too far I'm just going to end up with a blank spot on that blade. Now this side is a little bit easier because it kind of forges in a little more uniform, and a lot of it has to do with your hammer control, your blows, and so forth. Now my guard, I want it to be rustic. Now I can do a couple things. One, I could clean this down, take a lot of time, and I'm going to get less money out of it than what I put into it time-wise. So I can wire brush this. This I just hit with the surface conditioning belt, and I had to do just a little bit of fit up here. Wasn't too bad, and rounded out my little ricasso area there, just because I thought that looks kind of neat, and more importantly, then I'm not trying to sharpen clear up the guard and scratching things up and not getting a good bevel. So I'll still probably come in here and lay in a false edge. And of course, I still have to come in here and sharpen this up because this is about pretty well blunt. So what I recommend on this is, if you're going to have a rustic blade, is that you reasonably finish out your handle material. And I got into this a little more than I probably should have before I started the video, but I had to get my phone charged up. So here is some stabilized bloodwood that Cheyenne did for me. And I did a video on doing a burn through tang, and that's what I've got here. Is I've got a decent piece. Now the handle turns just a little bit on me, so I do have to pick that up, and I will be pouring a pewter butt cap on that. But what I want to do first is I want to show you guys how I like to clean these up. And once more, if you haven't subscribed yet, do so. There are links in the description for Forge Your Memory family, where you can see these step-by-step builds. There's also links to Turtle Island Preserve, where Cheyenne and I will be teaching with Robbie Bowman in September. And there's also a link to our Facebook page, Axon Main Fort Memory. So here we go. I'm just going to take this, I'm just going to I'm just going to slack grind it on top. And I find it very important, keep feeling that piece while you're working it. So now I'm under slack grinding this. No, not a saw blade, but I do make some stuff out of saw blades. Now this is starting to feel pretty nice. Now there's a couple things I do have to adjust on this, and one, because my burn went askew slightly, I do have to look and see how my handle is. You can see where the tang comes out there, but my handle is slightly off. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to go ahead and I'm going to put a different belt on here, and I'm going to take that down. And the reasoning behind it is I just want it, I want to finish out a little better. The knife won't bring me but maybe a couple $100, but it's still something that I want finished out reasonable, and don't want to have to fight to try to get that. Yep, I'm making a handle for a Bowie knife and showing people how to make them look good but still rustic. So I'm using a worn 120 right here. What I'm going to do next, because my burn through was crooked, this is not going to be my greatest piece ever. I'm going to let you guys know that, and sometimes we have to deal with that. So what I am going to do, I'm going to go ahead and put platen on this and start getting my fit up so I can finish it. Now this is not, like I said, this is basically going to be a second. So it'll end up going up on my auction tomorrow night, I'm sure. And then we'll get on to some of the other knives, and I'll show you how to finish those out. Now, first thing I want to do, I'm going to look here and figure out. Yep, I'm going to take that down just a little bit right there. And I think that's going to work. Okay, so before I finish this out, or what I'm going to finish it out, I'm going to go ahead and put a surface conditioner on here. And I'm going to clean up my handle. And then we're going to get to putting that together and looking at finishing out some other blades, hopefully that have a little better result. You're never going to get 100% on your production, so always keep that in mind. If you know, figure it low, figure it 75-80% on what you're going to get full market value. So the other thing that I'm going to recommend is don't put more into a piece that you're working on than what you're going to get out of it from a financial standpoint. So what that means is I can go back and I can work on this and I can work on this and I can try to make it a perfect piece, which is not going to happen. And I'm just going to end up spending more time and, in a sense, money on it than what I'm going to get out of it. So right there, I'm just going to let that sit for now. Come over here, get me some JB weld. Yeah, Joshua Alexander, that is a mini Dictator 2x2. I've owned several, and by that I mean we do go through the stuff, you know. Get a lid here. And then I'm going to need my JB weld. Now the reason I use JB weld is one, it blends in, and it's also, it makes a pretty good gasket for when I do the pewter pour on this. And if you guys haven't seen me do this, this is how I do this. Once more, if you haven't subscribed yet, it's a great time to do so. And yes, I do change my shirt, but I bought a whole bunch of these from Temu because I have a tendency to literally burn my clothes up working here in the forge. And so as a result, I try to buy cheap stuff, and if I can get it in multiples, I do buy it in bulk. I'll get another knife or two for what little resin I got left there. The JB weld also stays pliable for a bit longer than what the epoxy does. But in this heat, don't trust your adhesives to stay liquid for very long. So everything is in position, aligned where it should be for what it will be. And then I'm just going to take a toothpick and I'm going to lay in some JB weld all around the perimeter. Of this tang where it passes through the guard. Now, you don't have to use a whole lot, but you do want it to seal everything up. and then around the mouth of the opening here for the guard, or for the handle. That's where I go ahead and I lay out some JB weld there too. And I like that to hold up just a bit. Now I'll take this, I'll just set it to the side because I want that, I want to be able to gauge when this is setting up. Now heat will make it set up a little faster. And what squeezes out the sides, I can take care of that later. But when it kind of turns into a putty, that's when I'll scrape that off. Now, while I'm waiting, I can go ahead and I can create my pommel cup, my mold cup, using some HVAC tape. And on this, I'll make sure I've got plenty of tape, plenty of height. Make sure it closes around the handle material. And the tang is serrated, so when I pour the pewter, it's going to lock on. And that's looking pretty good to me. So now I'm just going to let that sit, and we're going to go on to the next piece. So this is what I call stacking my work, or multitasking. Well, I've got a couple rasp knives right here that I'd like to get finished out. So let's start looking at these. Now that's an okay looking hunting knife right there, in theory. Now the guard definitely needs some attention, and what I want to do, I'm actually going to clean the guard up when I do the cleanup on the blade, using an 80 grit. So here's my 80 grit. We go through quite a few of these, and some of these are better for finishing steel, and others are better for handling guard materials. So here we go. What car do I drive? Okay, I actually drive a Saturn SL2. It's efficient, and that's what I drive. Now, motorcycle-wise, I've got a VTX 1300C. But yeah, that's what I have car-wise. So by the time I get done cleaning these up, at least on the 80 grit, my JB weld should be set up enough that I can go ahead and pour my pewter. So stacking work, multitasking. Now this, I'm going to go ahead and take these horns off. Some of this will be cleaned up with the surface conditioner more so. I'll get to that in a moment, but I kind of want to look and see how that's coming along, looking good. So now I'm going to clean the spine. My little ricasso or soil area. And now I'm going to come in here and I'm going to start working down the surface. Now, I'm going to be doing longer passes on this. Now this one, there's some deeper pits right here, so I'm going to have to grind that a little bit more. Now that one, it did not preserve as much of the scaling. Let's see how it goes on the other side. Once more, I've got some heavier pits there. Now, from here I determine, do I come back and grind the other side more, or do I leave it as it is? I'm actually going to leave this one as it is. So that one's getting close to fit up. Now, I can get the guard off this one. We'll do the same thing. I'm going to pass it on the spine. Come in my little tasso area, my little soil area right here. I clean that up. And then I'm too bad. So it's coming in on the other side. Use a little bit of scrubbing action on that. Okay, so that worked out pretty decent. Bring you guys over here. So that one turned out a little better. Now there's still some dark spots. I'm going to put a surface conditioner on and going to see about getting rid of those and also starting to finish up the guards. Now, if I wasn't trying to preserve that texture, I would go up to a 120 and I would start cleaning this up, take some of those heavier scratches out. But because I want to go with a cowboy knife, it's kind of a primitive piece in general. I'm not going to do that because what's going to happen is eventually I'm just going to sand through all that pattern. If you guys haven't subscribed yet, it's a great time to do so. And check out some of the links in the description. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use a maroon surface conditioner or the red surface conditioner. If I go to the blue, it's going to highlight a lot of scratches. And this, I just want to blend them away first. Which if I do this properly, which I won't, I can go in and I can clean that up with the blue afterwards. I can run it to gray, but I don't care to at the moment. Makes for a reasonably attractive piece. Now, while I'm at it, I'm going to start cleaning up these the guards. That's warmed up, so I'm going to go ahead and get the sides of this guard real quick. Well, there, I got a couple of these looking okay. Let me show you what I got going. So, right there, I'm kind of liking the way that turned out. That's not terrible. This one I like the shape better than I do the finish. But they're both going to get finished out, and someone will give them a good home and love them and appreciate them. Now, I can check my JB weld, and it's pretty tacky at this point. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you guys how I clean this up if you haven't seen it. If you have, hey, here's pressure. And I just pass around the outside between the handle and the guard and peel off that little sliver of adhesive. and go from there. All right, now I can, at this point, start looking at pouring my my pewter. All right, so I just started the forge, and what I'm going to do, I've got some pewter in this ladle right here. I'm going to heat that up. And I got to be cautious with bloodwood because bloodwood contains oils, and also from being stabilized, if I heat that too much, it's going to start producing fumes. It's going to produce gases that are going to be a problem when I go to pour that, because there's going to get to be bubbles in my molten pewter. I don't want that. So I'm going to try to monitor my temperature a little better. And work this back and forth just a little bit. If you haven't subscribed yet, great time to do so. And check out Forge and Memory Family. There's a link in the description. You need to get a hold of us about anything, about people asking about handle material, custom builds, and so forth, or things that we're building right now. You can find that on the Facebook link in the description, as well as check out the Turtle Island link in the description. We got a lot of the links in the description. And myself and Cheyenne Brown and Robbie Bowman will be teaching a class September 6th and 7th down at Turtle Island in Boone, North Carolina. You can sign up on that website via that link. Okay, so now this is going liquid. I want to see if it's hot enough to liquefy the rest of this. And then it looks like it almost is, but isn't quite. So while that's coming down, I'm just going to I missed. Now it's displacing a lot of the gases there. It's down in that handle. And what I spilled everywhere, I will be able to recover that. Right there. Melt that back into the ladle. And now I'm going to come in here and I'm going to add some heat, and hopefully all the bubbles were able to escape. If not, it'll start bubbling again. And if it does that, then I will let it do its thing. There's a couple little Most of them are quite tiny. So I'm just going to give it a moment. I'm going to tap this. Will that help move the bubbles? I'd think it would. Let's heat that up again. Looks like I got some stuff coming to the top, so gets all those impurities out. Kind of forms a scale or some slag, I guess. And I'm gonna let her cool, and I'll go from there. Now, I still got to figure out what kind of handle material I'm going to be using on my other hunting knives over here. So, with that being said, you guys got any suggestions? I'm thinking it's probably going to be stabilized wood of some sort. Still liquid. It's not stabilized wood. I guess it'll either be bone or antler. We'll find out shortly. Okay, so you guys haven't subscribed, go ahead and do that. I'm going to clean up my mess just a little bit. I do have this material. The other portion of it got used in a sword build, but I think this could be a good material for a hunting knife. I guess there's only one way to find out, and that's to try it. So first things first, I've got to find my caliper, which is in the back. We'll get to that in just a bit. But as this is cooling down, the top's frosted cautiously, because it can still be molten. And I say we're just on the solid side of that, barely. There is my pewter pommel. Now, even though this is solid, it's still quite soft. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this piece and we're going to go over the water bucket. Now I'm going to cool down that pewter. That way it finishes solidifying. And that tang, as I said, was rated, so that's going to help lock all that together. Now, what do we do from here? Well, from here, it's going to be a quick cleanup and then sharpening and marking. But that quick cleanup, I've got oiling to do on that as well. So, that's 120. I'm going to go with use 36 or 80. That's an 80. Worn 80 grit right there, and I'm going to start cleaning this one up. I generally start on the end because if I have any bubbles, I need to know I can always record. Looks pretty clean. Okay, so now I'm going to go back and use a surface conditioner and work that down real quick. And this kind of keeps that rustic styling, that rustic theme, but still allows for a pretty clean fit up and just makes it look finished. So now I have my Bowie knife. That is looking like a Bowie knife. Handle's a little bit longer because my hands are small. I'm okay with this. Now, not with small hands, but with this turnout. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and sharpen this. And the reason I want to go ahead and sharpen it is because sharpening is usually the last step, but I don't want to oil handle and possibly have oil on this while I'm trying to sharpen. So I'm going to go ahead and go to an 80 grit again. And this is where it gets kind of magical. Well, for some of us. Actually, go to 80 grit. You know what? I've got a 36 here that's in pretty good shape. And I'm going to use that to cut my bevels. Now I want to put, oh, there we are. I want to put a false edge on this. So I'm going to come in vertical, slight angle. And cut that in. Looks okay, there's my false edge. While I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to grind it down to 0 real quick on the wheel. That worked okay. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go to higher grit. I think there's a 220 here. That looks like 220. Hopefully it's got enough grit on it I can sharpen this, not just polish that edge. Yeah, there's enough. So first things first. That is warm. Got a pretty toothy edge to it. I'm going to see if I can hit that with a steel, shave a couple hairs, and if so, I'm going to call that one good. I said this had a pretty good burr on the edge, so that will generally work just fine once it's sharpened up. Everything's smoothed out, evened up, serration set into alignment, and let's find out. It does shave a bit. I am getting some hairs off my arm that way. I don't like to put a real fine edge on a knife somebody might be chopping with. Now, this is going to be more of a hunting knife, but what can happen, quite simply, is you end up rolling that edge. You end up blunting your piece while you're trying to use it. So I want to avoid that. Let's see. Now the issue is, since I didn't grind this down a lot, I don't have much area to put my mark, but I do have that pewter pommel right there. RFW on that. And what I'll do next, we usually call this a reveal. I need a paper towel. I think I got one over here. Give me just a second. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you guys what that looks like, that bloodwood, once we put a little bit of oil on it. And it just has a really nice appearance. Need to mix up some more of that oil. And then I can either wipe it off or I can let it sit. Now, this is stabilized, so there's only going to be so much penetration into that piece. But I am just going to go ahead and wipe that down. And then I'll let it sit for just a few. And then I will oil the blade. Well, guys, boys and girls, that's how I do it. Still preserves the surface finish, the texture, and what is, I've made it for a couple of reasons, like I said in the beginning. One, it is a good deal, but also it looks kind of cool. If you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and do so. There are links in the description for Turtle Island Preserve, where myself, Cheyenne, and Robbie will be teaching September 6th and 7th down in Boone, North Carolina. There's a link for Axon Maine Forge Memory on Facebook. You can get a hold of us if you want to order something or you got questions. You can contact us. There's also a link for Forge Memory Family where you can see step-by-step builds by professional bladesmiths and blacksmiths. Guys, hope you have a great one. We'll catch you on the next video. Hope to see you then.